Hey guys, Ben, Honeydew Homestead. On this very windy day. Why does this always happen to me? It seems like whenever I need to do like outdoor painting or staining or anything like that, it's always windy. It was nice, cool, calm yesterday. I should have just done it yesterday, but today was the day that I was planning on doing this, and so I chose today. And of course, wind is blowing. Anyways, I'm not complaining. It's a funny little thing. You know, sometimes you ever run into those situations where you're car shopping and you think to yourself, I want to buy a Volkswagen Beetle. Nobody's got one of those. And so you start doing your research, you really start looking into it, and then all of a sudden, every single day you start saying, oh, Volkswagen Beetle, oh, Volkswagen. Huh, interesting. Like every third car on the road is a Volkswagen Beetle, but you swore until that moment that you'd be the only person. I don't know. It's funny the things that we notice at the wrong time. All right, what are we doing today? What are we doing? I need to stain the fire pit. So if you remember, I believe it was last year. It's probably been about a year. I'd have to go back and check the videos, but I did make a series of shorts and a series of videos just going over the process of building a sunken fire pit in my backyard, because everything on this property is sloped. And so the only way to get a flat piece of land is either to dig in or build up. And so I decided to dig in and create a sunken fire pit. Until this point though, the wood that is there is treated wood, but it is unprotected. And the reason why I've left it unprotected for this long is because when I built it, it was built with fresh, green, wet, sopping wet, very heavy treated wood. And it would not have accepted an oil-based stain, or frankly any stain at all. It wouldn't have done a very good job. Now, that wood is very much weathered and seasoned and dry and ready to accept a stain. And I want to get this done before the weather gets too cold, too wet, and it's just not a good time to stain anymore. So we're going to knock this one out today. I hope you guys enjoy this one. Let's get started. All right, we'll start there. We'll see how far that gets us. I'm not going to completely seal it because I may need to come back, so I'm just going to leave the lid on it. Ugh. Living on a slope. Gotta love it. So it's important to know Mrs. Honeydew, she picked a more natural color. I'll get that color for you in just a second here. But this color she chose specifically because she liked that natural wood. She didn't necessarily want that dark, rich, sort of redwood look that we have for our fencing. She wanted to keep the fire pit a little more natural. And so it is tough to kind of notice a difference, but if you follow this to here, you can definitely see this is almost turning white because the sun is bleaching it, and we're just trying to get it back to something closer to that natural wood color. New Cedar from Cabot is the color. It's a semi-transparent. I didn't want to go with fully transparent because you really don't get any UV protection with that, and I figured a semi-transparent is gonna survive the weather just a little bit longer to avoid me having to come out here and possibly stain this year after year. I'm really trying to look for a lower maintenance solution, but I didn't want to go full solid or opaque stain because that tends to leave, it looks almost like you painted it. It leaves a really solid color. It takes away a lot of the grain and a lot of the character of the wood. And so I really didn't want to go that far. Instead, I've decided to go with the semi-transparent, which should keep a lot of that grain, a lot of that interest that's in the wood, but at the same time, it's going to give a little bit of that UV protection to prevent some of this bleaching that's been happening to the wood. All right, I'm going to keep going. I'll leave you guys here. And then we'll chat in a little bit when I'm done. Something I forgot to mention is when you're doing this kind of work, it's good to sort of rake back the rocks so that you have something to cover up the rocks that have gotten dirty. And then you don't end up, obviously, oh, what is that? Weird creatures. Okay. As I was saying, so you don't end up with just this weird sloppy line. You'll be able to push some nice clean rock up against that and get back to that nice clean line. I was going to sit in that seat, but you know what? You can have it. It's all right. I'm willing to share. Let's sit in this one instead. So, I'm all done. But this really does raise a good question. It's a bit of a behind the scenes problem that you may not realize. A lot of times with content creators, you have to ask yourself the question of, do I do something that's good for the channel, or do I do something that's good for the family? Ooh, this is bright. Maybe I'll pick a different spot. Hold on. All right, I guess we're doing this standing up. Okay, I just wanted to say, this is the question that a lot of times content creators like myself have to ask. Do I do something that is good for the channel or good for the family? And let's keep it real. I do what's good for the family 100% of the time. But for people who do this full time, who do this for a career, they do often have to ask themselves that question, because if you notice, well, from what you can see, I'll give you a better shot here in a second, but if you notice, it's not that different from what it looked like before and after. And so when I put this video out there, you're just kind of like, oh, he turned wood into wood. Like, but the reality is that a lot of work has been done here today, but you just don't see it because it's not that drastic. Like, I didn't come out here and paint it red and oh my gosh, look how amazing it looks. And then the next day, you have to live with it. At least I do. And it sets a bad example, I think, for people who watch this thinking, oh wow, that looks really cool. It looks just bright and vibrant and I want to do the same thing. And then now you have to live with the same mistakes that I would have made if I were to do something bombastic. So what I've chosen here is a nice subtle color that blends with the rest of the landscape. It keeps the wood looking natural. It's a semi-transparent that helps keep some of that grain, because that's the type of aesthetic that I like. It's the type of aesthetic that Mrs. Honeydew likes. And so that's what we went with. We chose family over the channel. But I just wanted to bring that up because you have to keep that in mind. If you are out there and you're watching other YouTubers, other content, especially people who do this for a living, they need their channels to pop, to seem different and say, look at this amazing thing that I did. And then they have to go live with it. And if they don't like it because they just did it for the sake of the channel, I don't think that's helping anyone. And so that's why I'm always going to keep it real with you guys. And as always, you guys be good. I'll catch you on the next one. I borrowed a little stain for the trailer too. Looks pretty good.